sex, drugs, and secrets. We got steroids all over the school. Are Bryce and Alex friends? And Monty has a secret of his own. Stay tuned. We got all the details coming up.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning in. We are talking all things 13 Reasons Why, Season 3, Episode 5, Nobody's Clean. I want to say hello to you guys. My name is Monica Ortega, taking over for Danny right now.
Hi guys, my name is Kami.
She is back from Season 2, y'all.
Yes.
She was here for the Season 2 after show of 13 Reasons Why. So welcome back. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. This episode had so much stuff. So from all of the drugs in the school, Clay seems to have a little bit of a secret of his own. Monty definitely has a secret. And then Bryce and Alex are bonding, which is a little bit strange. Stay tuned because we also have our special segment and some news. So kicking things off, Kami, what are your overall thoughts of this episode?
Oh, okay. This episode really tripped me out. I had a lot of guesses from the beginning. That was just like, oh, okay. So this is what Ani is leading with the narration. Yeah. This, like, I'm over here like picking pieces, like, oh, it must be Alex. Alex is doing this, or him and Bryce, had something. Like, I'm coming up with all these guesses and none of it was right. And I think that's what I really appreciate about this show, is that they're just always throwing all these twists and turns at us that we just never see coming.
Totally. I feel like every single episode, I think I've got it figured out, or I'm getting some answers to some questions and I'm like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
And then the next episode comes and this one just left me with so many more questions. And we're not even halfway through yet. This is crazy.
We're only on episode 5.
Okay, so let's get into it. So this episode kicks off. They just found all of the steroids in the river and Alex is freaking out, which we're kind of like, why is Alex freaking out, right? So then they go into the school and they're searching everybody's lockers. What did you think? Like, did you immediately think that Alex was using? Why was he so skittish? Or did that completely surprise you?
It completely surprised me. I've never seen steroids before, so I had no idea that that's what it actually was. But then, through watching the first few minutes, we start to see that everything is starting to link to Alex. So I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what this is about. And we know his history, with Jess. So it's starting to make sense to me. But still, I still felt like perhaps maybe even Monty. There's something big on Monty, because as we're seeing the camera sort of hover over everyone as they're checking the locker room, we're seeing a lot of Monty. So I thought Monty's like setting him up or something. Or with the drugs. I didn't really know what to think of it, but I just felt like there was some link between Alex and Monty.
See, I didn't get the link right off the bat. I thought he was covering for somebody, but I wouldn't have thought Monty right off the bat. I kind of forget that Alex is on the football team even. Wasn't he?
Justin. Well, Alex was on the football team?
No, so he just trains with them.
Yeah,
is that it?
I think he just trains.
Okay, because I was like, how did he even get involved with this? But I forgot he trains with Zach.
Exactly.
And that's what led to all of this.
Yeah.
And it makes sense with the whole Jess thing, but it definitely threw me off at the beginning for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we find out that Alex is doing drugs, and then Justin seems a little bit freaked out as well, which we've kind of talked about a little bit in the first few episodes, that season 2 ends when we think that Justin is clean, and then they show him using, and then they haven't really addressed that yet.
Yeah.
So do you think he's using?
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, in this episode, he's, like you said, he's freaking out. He's checking his bags. He's checking for something. I mean, it could be drugs. I wouldn't be surprised, though, because, I mean, having to go through that healing process, did he actually fully heal and recover from drugs? And if not, then there is a good chance he could go back. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised. I hope not, though, because Justin he's getting somewhere.
I like him.
Yeah, I don't want him to fall back.
Clean Justin.
Yeah.
I was really thrown off when he didn't seem to care that Clay was freaking out at the prince, which that whole thing in this episode was throwing me off, that Clay was really freaked out about the prince.
Yes.
did I miss something where he was in the car? Or is that like, we haven't figured that out yet? I was like,
I don't think we figured it out yet.
I was like, I don't remember him being in Bryce's car, but obviously this is a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Justin to be like, no, I don't really care why. There's something there.
For sure. I just love Justin so much, and I shouldn't be biased in that way, but I just don't see Justin in any way killing Bryce. I just don't think he has that anger in him anymore for him. I feel like he's gone, well, that's actually, I mean, Jess.
I love the two of them so much.
I know.
I will say, I don't think he did it because of his reaction when he found out. Mm-hmm. But I think he knows who did. I think he's somehow involved in covering something up.
And I think that's a great point because we do see in this episode Jess holding this cassette,
the bloody
with
tape.
Blood, and I do believe we saw it at a certain point earlier in the season. I think we saw that maybe in the first episode.
I think it was the first episode. Yes. It was like how it opened.
Yeah. Yes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jess has something to do with Bryce's death and Justin is covering.
Oh, I feel like every single episode, I don't know who did it, and I keep switching. I'm like, oh, it's got to be Zach. Oh, it's got to be Jess. Like, yeah. I agree, though. I cannot see Justin doing it, for sure. All right, so we find out that there's drugs all over the school. Everybody's freaking out, and they're trying to figure out who's dealing. So they start with this kid, Luke, and then it comes back to Bryce, which I thought they made such a good point when they were like, why would Bryce deal? He doesn't need the money. And they were like, it's a control thing.
So powerful.
Especially because he's kind of losing control of everything around him.
Especially the school that he used to go to and perhaps still wants to keep that, like they said, in control.
So that ends up tying Monty, Bryce, and Alex together, which we kind of find out a lot about Monty, which we've been talking about for a few episodes now, that we really want to know why he's such a horrible human. Yeah. So Ani and Clay follow him to his place.
Yeah.
What did you think of that whole scene?
It's sad to see Monty going through as much as he is going through. I mean, there's no stability in his life. And that was his father, correct? That we see?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So when first of all, I was kind of annoyed at that part because I do feel like Ani and Clay are doing a little too much.
I agree.
Like, why are you following him?
Yeah.
Why are you sticking around to see all this? Like, you could get hurt, and Monty is not one to play with. He's not.
Oh my gosh. That is the one thing that made me so angry about this episode, that they didn't drive away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand why you would confront him, let him know that you're following him.
Yes.
Like, that whole scene. And I'm actually really surprised that Monty didn't beat the crap out of him.
I know, didn't go after them. Yeah. I was a little like on edge, like what's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. That whole thing was weird.
And even the way they confronted him, like, hey, is that blood?
Right.
Bryce's blood? I was like, whoa.
Ani's getting a little crazy.
How you confront this man.
She's getting a little too comfortable, I think. Oh my goodness. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about with Monty, but first, I think you have something to tell everybody.
I do, guys. Before we continue talking about Monty, we just want to say thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching us and leaving your comments. If you're on YouTube right now, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. But wherever you are, please leave us a comment so that you can join in on the conversation. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to us. You guys tuning in, joining in on the conversation, us hearing your opinions on these shows, we truly value and appreciate. So we just ask that you keep coming back and you let your friends know about us, and we'll be continuing to make these great shows.
Absolutely. Great job. All right. So somebody in the live chat, hold on. We got to give some shout outs, because if y'all are joining on the live chat, we definitely want to say hey to you. So Valentina says she can't believe that the actor who plays Monty is 32. I didn't know that.
I didn't even know that.
All right. So we were just talking in the last one about who we could date. Apparently I could date Monty. Not that I would want to.
He's an amazing...
He's a great actor.
Actor, by the way.
Yeah. If anybody can make you hate their character
Yes,
that much, they're such a good actor.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. All right. So Monty, we are learning a lot about him. We find out his dad is an alcoholic and abusive. And then they start digging some more. And they follow him outside the school. They find out this Winston Williams guy and an envelope that says he's not going to talk. So when they're digging into that, they find out about this party. What did you think about that?
I knew from the get-go kind of what was going to happen.
Really?
Just from the way he sipped his tea or whatever it was, his latte.
Yeah.
It seemed something was juicy. Like, we're about to get into some tea right now is what
We're about to get into some tea.
Is what I saw.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
But seriously, and I just knew, like, okay, here's this guy, and he's like, there's this connection between him and Monty, and this connection seems something that he's doesn't want to talk about. And then we see this party, and then I knew it. I was just like, yep, Monty and him.
Yeah.
They had something.
I thought either they knew each other from before, but I immediately got the chemistry thing.
Yeah.
Also a testament to the actors that literally in one look, I was like, oh, something's going down.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes into the room with this Winston guy. We were kind of talking about this before the show. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I was like, is he gay? Is it just a sex thing for him?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, when we were talking about it, I had to question it too. Like, it could just be, he could be gay, but also it could just be something that he just enjoys. Because it didn't seem, okay, it's tricky.
Right?
Because I don't think you can just identify a person as gay just because they are involved in like sexual relations with another man, right? I think, and I may have this wrong, I'm no expert, by the way, but I think it's who you prefer to be with, right? Like who you'd want to, like,
and
what
I guess
do you
I should
identify
say gay
as?
or bisexual.
Yeah, or bisexual.
Because that doesn't,
Yeah. So it could just be he enjoys the act. Or he is gay. And maybe we'll figure that out as we move more into the following episodes.
I got the impression that he's gay and he's ashamed of it very much by that whole scene, that he didn't even want to acknowledge what was happening.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he beat him up afterward.
Yes.
And it's not even like the guy was going to say anything. That really surprised me.
I felt that.
Yeah.
You know, like the moment he said, hey, it was nice to meet you, I was like, whoa.
Yep, it's going down.
Monty's not,
going down.
He's definitely not going to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then it happened, and it's
Do you think that Bryce knows? Because he was so quick to go and stand up for him, which, again, for as bad as these guys are, I do appreciate their friendship.
Yes.
In a weird, messed up way. That he was, like, real quick to jump in there.
Yeah.
And be like, I will take care of this, no problem. But I kind of think he might know.
Here's
Or
a
at
prediction.
least-
Here's a prediction. What if Monty has once professed his love to Bryce?
I could totally see that happening.
And then now Bryce knows this about Monty, and therefore why he was able to sort of catch on to what happened at the party.
That would totally make sense. And, I mean, they were friends, so he's going to be emotional no matter what.
Yes.
But when they confront him outside of his house and he's, like, near tears and he was like, he was my best friend.
Yeah.
That's even deeper if he had feelings for him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, so good. Again, guys, do not give us spoilers. We are watching it one episode at a time so that we can do these for you. So please leave us comments. Just don't tell us what happens. But some interesting theories going on there.
Yeah.
And somehow Alex gets roped into all of this because he's there to get the steroids.
Yeah.
And he sees it all. I think it's so interesting that he tells the guy, like, they're not my friends. But from that, and from hanging out with Bryce, they have this weird friendship almost that forms over what I assume is cocaine.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. What do you think it is about those two that they, like, somehow bond with each other? Is it just about the drugs?
I think it goes back to also just Bryce and the whole control thing. right?
You think Bryce is doing it for control?
It could possibly be, because Bryce seems to keep popping up in all the lives of people we wouldn't expect and people that hate him. And he's somehow doing them favors. But then also I could see the good side to it, is that Bryce just wants to be loved and wants real friends. You know?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think he was used to being the king of the school. So that control probably feels really good and really natural to him.
Yes.
But I think he just really wants friends.
Yeah.
And I think the only way he knows how to make them is at parties with drugs. Like,
giving them what they want.
yeah,
you know?
being the cool guy. It's like the parent that gives the kids presents for love.
Yes.
It's kind
Exactly.
of like
Yes,
that.
that's exactly, because this is how he was raised. He was only given things and
Yeah.
never really like love, just given material things
Yep.
to cover for that. So he's just used to it, and that's his way of doing it. And I think that's why he forms this relationship with Alex, because he sees he's in need of something and he gives it to him, and they bond off it that way.
Yeah.
Weird way.
So then Clay and Ani keep digging, and they take him to the gym. They get on his phone and they jump on his Venmo and realize he's got money going to Bryce for the drugs, which they know, and also this woman.
Yeah.
So they go to the woman. They find out that Alex and Bryce have been seeing her, and she is a hooker.
Yes.
I do feel like they kind of bonded a little bit over that. I mean, it may have started with the drugs, but it was also the whole, like, no women touching them.
Yeah.
And it did feel like kind of a bro moment of, like, let me help you out with that.
For sure. Which is
Very weird.
yes.
Sometimes I'm like, these kids are in high school? Like,
I know.
forget
I
that
always
it's all high
forget.
school.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Oh, but it was sweet in a way, I
Yeah.
guess. So they find that out, and then they cut to the scene where they're doing drugs in the car, and Bryce says, let's go mess up my dad's house. Justifies it, says it's no big deal because I live there too, so it's basically like messing up my own house. It's not breaking and entering. And then it goes from there.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that whole thing?
That scene in particular was really hard to watch, especially for seeing the kid that comes through and is terrified and pisses on himself. It was so hard to watch and so sad. And at that point, I was just like, here's the Bryce that we do not like.
Right?
Just so insensitive, has no emotion or no sympathy for people. But again, it's like, I know he's dealing with so much just from his upbringing and all of that. But it was still really reckless and ridiculous for him to say everything that he said to that child.
I think it was interesting because that whole scene, it's like they're partying and bonding and like tearing up this house, and you're thinking, oh, this is cathartic, and the dad's a jerk anyway.
Yeah.
And then it takes such a turn when the kid's there and they realize that they're at the wrong house.
Yeah.
And it really did kind of separate the two personalities of Alex going, hold on a second, this is not who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bryce, when he gets in these situations like parties or drinking or letting his anger out, it's almost like he goes into a zone that he doesn't realize. And it kind of felt like that. Like he's in this mode where he's tearing things up and he's in that place and this kid comes in and there was no like shutting it off. It's like he just kept going.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting moment for Alex and him, well, for Alex to realize this is not a friendship and this is not somebody that I want to be a part of. And it kind of brought Alex back to everything that he did too. But yeah, that was a heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was. And it reminds, like, personally, it reminds me of like those friendships that you'll have. It's just like, oh, it's fun. It's like, it's kind of like, these are just acquaintances you just want to party with, you just want to have fun with. But then the minute it takes you beyond what you would ever, like pushes your limits, then you realize like it's not actual true friendship and this isn't what it is. And that's for sure what happened with Alex.
I thought this episode was interesting in the fact that they've kind of been playing into the sympathy a little bit with Bryce. And it's a weird thing because we've hated him for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then they've shown like him and Ani bonding and him getting beat up and all these things where you kind of start to feel for him. And in this episode, it's like it flipped a script. Like between the break-in, the prostitute a little bit, but then the anger that he shows to Ani.
Yeah.
like that seemed to just come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it seems to come out of nowhere, but then we remember that this is literally who he was for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But
even in that moment, at least in that moment when he yelled at Ani, well, he didn't really yell at her. It was built up anger that he expressed. I thought I empathized with him there. Like I felt for him there. He said something really important where he's just like, you know, between my grandfather and then my father, you know, where am I going to end up? And it was at that moment I realized like, wow, this guy actually is thinking about his life and is actually perhaps even wants to be better.
yeah.
Because he doesn't want to end up on either of the spectrum of where his, you know, parents or his father and his granddad
1,000%. And I thought it was interesting in this episode that they did show more of the grandfather and more of who he was and like
and he is not a nice
racism
person.
and him saying like boys will be boys and he should blow off steam, and then come full circle to the end where his mom finally tells him that Bryce is dead, and his reaction, what did you do? Oh, like it just explained so much of who Bryce has become and who he's afraid of being.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
that's a great point.
it's a very interesting character to have, and then especially to have Ani and her mom in the house to really like showcase that and just bring out all of that hate and all those issues too.
Yeah, I think it's really clever of the showrunners to have Ani in the show to be able to show that side of Bryce, because I think there's so much truth to the show, because I know with a lot of when we think of rapists, we'll only think of one idea, right? These criminals, they've done something bad, but we don't actually get to see the other side of them too. And I think this show at least allows us to see everyone in like 3D, like full on who they are, their good side, their bad side.
1,000%. And actually, Amy Wee says, I don't care what the haters say, Ani is my favorite character this season.
Yes.
She's so good. I love having somebody on the outside coming into the situation. And one thing that we talked about during the last after show for episode 4 is we had a weird theory that Ani and Bryce may have been connected before, or may have had an incident between the two of them somewhere in this 8 months. Where
like a bad incident?
Where he sexually assaulted her, that could have led, this is a very long theory that we talked about for a while, but that could have led to her doing something. And I thought it was interesting the moment where he gets angry with her and she does finally see that side of him.
Yeah.
And then for the mom to come in and say like, stay away from him, be very careful.
Yes. That scene was crazy. And the way she said it was, and it's just the continuing thing of her. She's, first on to the point about the mom, like she's just so very cautious about her son.
Yeah.
And it's scary, you know, to have to be a mother and have to tell people to stay away from your son. Like that's hard.
Yeah.
But she just knows how far he can go. And to your point about Ani, when she opened up the first episode, she's like scrubbing the cloth or whatever, the
blood on a t-shirt or something.
I had that thought too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she perhaps was linked to Bryce. Bryce did something, and
that's
she
what
probably
I'm
ended up
wondering.
killing him.
I'm thinking there's some weird connection between the two of them that we haven't seen yet, which would be very interesting if she came into this whole scenario already having known him and like inserting herself within the friends.
Yeah, because I think again the showrunners just are very smart, and I think there's so much more to it that I feel we're gonna find out, and we're gonna understand this connection.
Every single episode, like we said, I keep thinking of somebody new, and I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end, the mom tells the grandfather that Bryce is dead, which I thought it was also a really interesting episode for his mom because she's been so cold this whole time. And this episode in particular, she started to really break down. Like when she found out at the very beginning of the episode that he had been hurt and that there was blood. And then when she struggled to tell her father that he was gone, you know, I mean, there was a lot of moments where you actually did see some humanity in her and it wasn't so cold. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But she tells Ani to go and get his cane. And Ani goes into the garage and she's going through all these sports cars. And then the last one. So she turns it over. It's this red car. And it didn't look like the cars. It just looked like the windows were out. I was trying to figure it out. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any theories about whose it is or what it could be? Or
I can't even think of anything. Like I don't know what that car is connected to. All those 3 cars. She was going through them all, and I'm trying to figure out what the significance.
Clay was worried about his prints being in
Bryce's car.
But it was like a SUV. I can't think of what kind.
Like a Jeep.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the one he was saying, like, oh my gosh, my prints are going to be in that.
Yeah.
Or was he thinking the red car? I don't know.
Perhaps.
I was so confused.
Perhaps, yeah. Maybe that's what it was.
But
then now we'll see.
My whole thing is, like, it can't be Clay because why is he trying so hard to figure this out if it's him?
That's true. That's true. I'm curious, you guys in the chat, what do you think?
If you have
this
not
red
seen
car is
it
linked to,
and there's no spoilers, please let us know. Anthony says it's hard not to blurt out spoilers. We appreciate you not blurting it out. We really do. It's so much more fun for us to not know what's coming up. All right. I just hope Ani won't disappear next season. Yeah, I know. It's really tough. I did like the way that they kind of ended Hannah's portion. Like, we all loved Hannah.
Yeah.
But it was such a brilliant moment when she walked out of the funeral. Yeah, and it was also kind of like a closing the chapter. Like, we knew at that point that she wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting way that they've done it, bringing in Ani for this.
And I was going to say we haven't had enough time with her, although she's narrating like every episode. But I feel like because she's so new, I would hope she'd come back.
I'm just so amazed that she's jumped into the friend group so quickly.
Like
to the point where they're like sharing a lot of secrets.
A lot. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only sort of thing that I'm like taken aback by, like how quickly she knows everything. Like she's trying to figure out everything. She literally knows everything.
And they don't even know everything about each other. They all have secrets on each other. Mm-hmm. But
she knows
everything.
But she's saying Monty or she's, you know, as she's narrating, she's saying all these people have the biggest secrets.
Yeah.
How does she know all this?
Maybe she's kind of like Tyler and she follows him around and like, because, you know, you used to take pictures and do that a little bit.
True.
All right. So that leads us to special segments. Oh, so we have a special segment here. We're doing Whodunit because every single episode, it seems to change.
Yes.
So based on this episode, who do you think did it? Right? Is this not like the best? I want like a fedora just for this part.
Honestly, from this episode, I would have to say Jess did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's who I was going to go with.
The blood?
It's the bloody tape.
Yeah.
But then, I'm like, but then it could be Ani, or is Ani covering for Jess? I don't know. There's so many questions.
Yeah.
But I think based on this episode, you're right. I think it's Jess.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that takes us to our news. What do you got for us?
Yes. Ooh. All right. So, as you all know, since 13 Reasons Why has been released ever since season 1. There has been a lot of controversy around it. Parents, organizations, there have also been protests that have sprung up from just the distaste of the suicide in the show and how it was filmed on camera, to the point that 13 Reasons Why has edited out that scene. So in recent news, according to Fox 13 News Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City School District has sent home to parents a letter discouraging their kids to not watch 13 Reasons Why. And this is all due to concerns expressed by organizations like the National Association of School Psychologists and the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide. As you can see, there's the letter. Just a snippet of it. I would read it, but my eyes can't really see. But that's just a snippet of it. Again, they discourage the kids that there's some sensitive topics in there. But the cool thing about it, and what I do like what they did, was that they provide some ways that parents can talk to their kids about suicide, and if they are dealing with any sort of thoughts around it, or if they know their friends might be dealing with thoughts around it. So the full list isn't there because this is a screenshot, but they did do that in the letter, which was nice. But again, there's still some schools, organizations that still feel strongly about this show and that it shouldn't be aired.
How do you feel about that?
I understand their concern, as anyone would feel that anything that could harm their kids, or any sort of viewing that could harm their kids in any way, should be monitored. But what I mentioned before, and what I really do love about 13 Reasons Why, is that they're bringing such important topics to light. Abortion, immigration, suicide, all these things that we don't typically, or people like to throw under the rug and not talk about. 13 Reasons Why is bringing it to life. And this is what I see as what art in film should be about, or part of it should be about, is bringing truth and bringing to light issues so that we can have conversations around them. So I am not against 13 Reasons Why. I do enjoy the show, and I think it's important. And I think a way that we could do this is, parents or schools should send home letters and telling, like they did here, maybe not discouraging them to not watch it, but sending them ways on how they can guide their kids through watching it and having conversations about it.
I totally agree. I think the show has done a really good job as well to provide different resources. One thing we've talked about on here as well, if you're struggling with any of these things, or you want to learn more about these issues, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, abortion, all of these hard topics that they talk about, they have really good resources at 13reasonswhy.info. So check that out. But yes, I agree that parents should talk to their kids, watching it in groups. They have different suggestions for that. So. Yeah. But in terms of discouraging kids from talking about these things, I disagree with that. Mm-hmm. But interesting that schools are still having an issue with that. Okay. Well, on that heavy note, we're getting to the end of this one here. One thing that I really loved is this really dealt with a lot of masculinity versus femininity. The whole issue of masculinity with steroids and stuff like that. Did you have any other overall thoughts of this episode and everything that it covered?
I just thought it was a beautiful way for Ani to open it up the way she did. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I wrote down the quote. What it means to be a man or a woman is going away, that people are starting to become more fluid. I thought it was just such a beautiful way to open it, and for us to see what she actually meant by that. Yeah. And I think something that we kind of like skipped over was the prostitute. Is she a prostitute? Yeah. Yeah. And how Alex cried. Yeah. On her. Showed his emotion. And I thought that part was really important to the episode, because here's this guy that he's trying to find an outlet and trying to find his masculinity and whatever that means, for him. But now he just needs to cry. And this woman that's supposed to just be there for sex is actually there to console him and let him express his emotions. And I think it's important that, at least from this episode, I think something we could take away is that this whole notion around men having to be men and having to not express, you know, how they truly feel, like that is what causes a lot of issues, you know.
Agree.
And it's important that we allow men to express how they feel in a safe and healthy way, and not have to hold them to this expectation of being always having to be put together, because it's not realistic.
I love that. That is a great note and a great takeaway. So on that note, that is going to be it for us on this episode. Go ahead, Kami, tell them where they can find you.
Yes, guys. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kamisha Lauture.
And my name is Monica Ortega. You can find me on social media at Monica Go Show. That's it for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.